This presentation is designed specifically for Wyoming ARES RACES operators. Other viewers should check with their organizations as appropriate. This slideshow is the third of a few slideshows and provides training on software to be used with the STR equipment. It assumes you have seen the first and second presentations and are a licensed ham. The purpose of the slideshow is to give a brief introduction of the two computer programs that ARES RACES will use in the STR package. It is not intended to provide complete instruction on the software and is based on previous editions of the software. You must read the user's manuals for the complete instruction on current versions. RMS Express is a computer program that aids greatly in sending messages over the radio. It is similar to regular email programs used on the Internet. Individual email programs have various ways of accomplishing tasks. The user must learn the particular email program before using it. RMS Express is no different. Let's start by setting up the program for you. You must put in your call sign, and if you wish, an auxiliary call sign. Put in your grid square, and there's a longitude-latitude calculator for you on the right side. Click other buttons as appropriate, and then click Update. Now we can tell the program how you're going to send your message. You have a choice of Telnet, which is a great way of learning this program over the Internet. You can send messages from this program to other email addresses. You can use Packet, PacTor, which we'll be using quite a bit, and then WinMore, which is another protocol that's on the public domain and excellent program to use for HF data sending. You'll also see that there's WL2K, which is WinLink 2000, or P2P, which is peer-to-peer. Most of our messages that we're going to begin sending will be P2P. This again will be from, let's say, one region to the state EOC. Makes things simple. WinLink 2000 is a system for sending messages to other stations who are linked to the Internet, and then in turn they send a message to another email address. But this goes through the Internet. Right now we want to stick to peer-to-peer. If WinMore or other communications protocols work so well with ham radio, why are we using PacTor 2 and 3 and the SCS TNCs instead of just plugging into a computer and using other protocols such as WinMore? We'll have to remember that during emergency communications, things are always quite different. While normally when we're practicing as ham radio operators, we're trying to communicate with other hams that have inexpensive systems like WinMore and still work quite well, here we're trying to communicate between government agencies only. We're dealing between counties and regions and the state, or counties and the state. This is still the best operating way to go to pull signals out of the air and allow some type of security besides. Using these PacTor TNCs allows you both to practice using WinMore or some other protocol. You can quickly switch over to PacTor 2 and 3 during emergencies. Please remember, whenever you're using the government-owned equipment, start out by using PacTor 2 and 3. This should only take a short time. Send a message between your station and another station that's also in Wyoming, or another spot in the country. Let's start by typing a new message. As you can see, the first thing to pop up is a standard message form. This is, again, very similar to email. Now we have to determine whether we're going to go peer-to-peer or use WinLink. Push the appropriate radio button. Now you have to put in the address where you're going to send the message. As with standard email programs, you have an address book, or in this case, they call it a contact list. Now select the appropriate address from your address book. As you can see right now, we only have one address. Eventually, you'll have more addresses as you contact other people and input the radio contact addresses. There is a current list of the email addresses and call signs of many of the ARES RACES operators and the CCDOs. You can copy this file over to your program and you can use those addresses. Now type in the subject and the message itself. You can also copy-paste from another program. If you want to attach a file to this message, you can do so just as you do with normal email. Files such as Excel spreadsheets, text files, other word processing files, photos, a variety of other types of files. Just keep in mind that this is a slow way of sending messages. It does not have the speed of a broadband internet connection. Select the file you're going to send from the appropriate directory. and then post it to the outbox. Now from the outbox we can open the appropriate session. Push start, and the program along with the TNC will automatically figure out whether the frequency is clear. When it clears, send the message to the remote location, check it, and then close down the session itself. This is all automatic. Now let's see what the remote station sees. Opening up the email program on the other end using a peer-to-peer radio message on the other radio. As you can see here, you can read the message and you can see where there's an attachment. Open the attachment, we see meeting notes from a leadership meeting. It was held on June 5th, 2011. Open up the window, type in the call sign of the operator you're sending the message to, type in the frequency, which has questionable value, unless you have a data cable between the radio and the computer. You should make sure it stays in the proper band though. It'll also show you what the dial frequency is compared to the center frequency. You should be aware that when we talk about the frequency on a frequency list, this is the frequency that we're going to set the radio to. Doing otherwise, which is many times a standard way of doing it, will only confuse things when you're working during an emergency. This is by far the simplest way to attack the problem. Now starting the session as we did before, push start, the program will send a message. Now let's move on to FL Message. This is a part of a program of FL Digi, which is a much more complete program. Here we're going to use it just for filling out forms. The program will compress the files, can copy paste if we want, and put it into the message just as we did before on the RMS Express program. So why do we want to use FL Message? Forms are easy to complete, and the program compresses the files to limit the time on the air. Here's the list of the IS forms that are used by FL Message, and the list continues to grow. And as you can see, it includes the form 213, the general message that we use so much. And here's a list of some of the other forms it uses. Additional forms included are the radiogram of the ARRL and some of the VOAD forms. The next several slides go through the procedures for filling out the forms. Put the call sign here. Now let's actually fill out a form. Click the File button. Save the message. Put in the file name. Start a new folder. Here's the message itself. Save the message again. We want to save this form so we can use it again. Taking the default 213 and changing it. And saving it. Now that it's complete, give it to the radio operator. It's time to dive in, actually get some experience. Well, this brings us to the end of the slideshow. I hope you found it informative, whether you're a ham radio operator or a served agency. This is Bill Thompson, KI0IN, out.